Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Colorado Rockies rebuild franchise here on MLB The Show 24. Today, we're going to embark on the Year 3 offseason as our Rockies just fell short this year, falling in Game 5 in the last episode there in the NLDS against the Los Angeles Dodgers. As we're now here in the offseason, and if you're a fan of these franchise modes here in the show and Madden, whatever the case may be, this is probably the most fun aspect as you get to really, team build. That's what these series are all about, the rebuild franchises, the expansion franchises on the channel here. So we look at our exclusive rights free agents to start, and we see Casey Mize here at the top. We acquired him at the trade deadline, and he really didn't pitch that great down the stretch for us. He was actually on the mound there in that elimination Game 5 against LA, where he did turn in 5 2/3 of pretty good pitching, but overall just not consistent enough, not what we kind of thought we were getting when we made the trade for him at the trade deadline. Last year, 16-9 over 200 innings, a 2.60 ERA, a 105 WHIP. Was just dominant there for a bad Tigers team. This year was not, the same status for him, as he only won 6 games all year. I think 1 or 2 with our Rockies since being acquired. And we look at his contract. He's demanding in the $16 million range, and I really do not feel comfortable paying him that much. Potential, just 29 years old. You think his best days are probably still in front of him. And his flashes were really great. You like that 5-pitch mix, but I don't know if we're willing to commit to him long term at that money. So I think I might just maybe offer him a 1-year deal, kind of lowball him a little bit, see if he'll take 1 year, $12 million. I doubt it, but we'll throw it out there because we do have our rotation pretty much solidified. If not Mize, we're going to make a run at another pitcher on the market, and we'll be able to see the available starting pitchers here soon. Now going down to a lot of relievers here. Scott Barlow, we added him this past offseason, his first season in Colorado, 49 1/3, a 4.2 ERA, which is respectable, but the 1.62 WHIP, just the worst mark of his career. So now 34 years old. He is actually still progressing a little bit, regressing by 1 in a few categories, but we're going to look to upgrade his spot in our bullpen in this looming free agency period, which now brings us to Gregory Soto, another guy we brought in, 63 2/3. So he ate a lot of innings as one of our lefties out there, 3.11 ERA, 1.34 WHIP, which is pretty much identical to the numbers he posted last year with the Phillies. So you really know what you're getting with Soto. Going to bring high velocity, does have that sinker ball, but he is going to issue some walks at times, but we'll see what he's demanding. And he's even demanding a depth roll. We'll put that up to bullpen. And for 1 year, he wants just 2.9. I'll just go 2.8 for now. So a 1-year offer there for Soto, as we'll try and keep him and Lucas Gilbreth as our middle relief lefties there out of the pen. Casey Mize, just a 1-year, $12 million dart, but we're kind of prepared to move on from him and probably go at a different option in free agency. Peter Lambert has been solid over the first 3 years of this franchise, 149 2/3 back in year 1. And then year 2, he started out in AAA, was called up to the rotation. He went 8-0 as he made a late season push to make the postseason, but fell by just 1 game. 2.31 ERA that year with a 1.03 WHIP, but this season he really struggled. We did have him to start in the rotation to start the year, and then gave up his spot to Ryan Feltner. Senzatella made a few starts, but then we ultimately did trade for Casey Mize, had some bullpen outings after that. 519 2/3 innings pitched as a member of the Rockies, but we are going to move on from him. And he wants around $5 million, so he wants way more than I think we'd be willing to give. Now, John Curtis, at age 34 now, he is starting to see regression, but he did go +3 hits per 9, +2 home runs per 9, and he was just absolutely dominant last year. 1.85 ERA, a 1.05 WHIP as our setup man, 23 holds, 4 saves, went 4 for 8 on saves. And you have to think, the production isn't going to be as good as it was this season, but I just really like what he's done for us over the course of this franchise. So we'll give him a 1-year, $3 million offer. Probably not going to get it done, but we'll bump up that number a little bit if we have to. Then Jose Trevino brought him in as just a 1-year option there as our backup catcher, a spot we're going to look to upgrade here in this free agency. Now, looking at our staff, kind of an interesting development as Bud Black did retire as our manager, which I actually kind of was a little happy to see just because he didn't give you the best upgrades, but all things considered, reaching the playoffs here in year 3, advancing to the NLDS. We kind of figured we owed it to him, at least bring him back another year or two, but he just called it quits. So now we have a few options here for our manager, starting with Dave Roberts. Of course, comes off a World Series win here with the Dodgers, over 1,000 wins in his career, 4 pennants. And it's just kind of weird that they would move on from him. So that kind of makes me think that at this point in his career, maybe he's interested in a job as the farm director. And we actually do have to fill that slot as well, as our farm director retired along with Bud Black. So I think we're going to send a big contract offer here at Roberts. Maybe he just ends up back in Los Angeles as the manager there. Maybe he does take a gig somewhere else, but we'll go 5 years, $12 million. I think he saw kind of the fight, the skill, the talent we had on display there in the NLDS when he ultimately did beat us there in Game 5. But I think he's going to get in on the action, as he sees a lot of potential with the way we've been building this Rockies team. So now going back over to manager, we have a few interesting options here. A.J. Hinch, of course, a lot of wins as an MLB manager, won World Series title. We have Jordy Duke here, who's just a generated manager. Paco Figueroa, pretty good upgrades there. Mark Kotze, another real name here. Not a good record, almost double the amount of losses as he has wins. And that will bring me down here to Kevin Cash. And Cash has led the Tampa Bay Rays to 2 straight pennants there with the Rays there in the American League. Comes off a World Series loss last year against the Cubs, this past World Series against the Dodgers. But if you caught last episode, you saw how the Rays really rallied there. They were down 2-0 in the ALDS against the division-winning Baltimore Orioles. Came back to win that one, 3-2. They were down 3-0 in the ALCS against Kansas City, and they won 4 straight to reach the World Series. Forced it to 7 games there against, a David versus Goliath kind of matchup against the Dodgers. So Kevin Cash, he doesn't have the best upgrades with -1 discipline, -2 home runs per 9, but we're kind of buying into him as the player's manager. He got the best out of his guys. They were super scrappy, never gave up, and they rewrote huge deficits this past postseason and back-to-back pennants. I think that's a lot to be said. So we're going to take him not just for the upgrades he provides, because only +1 power, +3 hits per 9. We're more so offering him just based on his track record as a manager and the way he's respected by players and the fans alike. So we offer contracts here to Kevin Cash and Dave Roberts, both managers featured in last year's World Series. As we'll now sim ahead. Also, I think a few player options we'll get notifications on. Pete Alonso, a $15 million player option. Anthony Santander, like a $9-10 million player option. As we do some ahead, Nick Senzel decides to decline his. He was very good for us as a platoon guy, kind of emerged into a starting role, but then missed the last couple months of the season. Kevin Cash has accepted the Rockies' offer, so he goes from Tampa Bay to Colorado as we enter a new era here of Rockies baseball. Hopefully he can keep his pennant streak going. 2 straight pennants for Kevin Cash. Let's see if he can do it now in the National League. And Dave Roberts accepts the farm director job with the Royals, which does kind of make sense. They're doing some good things there in Kansas City. Maybe the best rotation in all of baseball, as they've added Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen. Kyle Wright has been pitching very well for them. So now back to farm director. And while A.J. Hinch is tempting, getting an offer there for Oakland's managerial position, I think we're going to go down here for Ronald Rodriguez. +3 clutch, +1 power, -1 control. But we love that +3 durability. Injuries kind of hampered us a little bit at times last year. So we'll just go with 3-year, $4 million offer and see if he accepts pretty much the bare minimum. So Nick Senzel now, as Soto, Curtis, Mize still have not accepted that offer we gave them. Tremendous progression across the board. You wish he was a little bit better there hitting righties, but we did get +5 power there. Fielding going up, really everything going up. 12 home runs on just 279 at-bats last year. Batted .276, .498 slugging, .833 OPS, and we did have him there at third against lefties, as Ryan McMahon, our other third baseman, does not hit lefties well, so it really works out having this one. Senzel who can get in there against lefties, and then McMahon who can get out there against righties. But also Senzel has a bunch of value as a utility man, and now at this point he is demanding quite a big number at 8.1. I was not expecting him to. We had an option for 4.7 million, would have been much more manageable, but I think he does have value for us. I think we'll give him another player option similar to what we just did. And I think we'll go up to $15 million. 2-year, $15 million deal with the player option. See if he bites on that. And then Pete Alonso and Santander will get notifications on as Ronald Rodriguez accepts the manager job there for the Boston Red Sox. So back to the drawing board here for our farm director. And instead, I think we'll offer Leonard Keno, getting a first base coach offer there with Atlanta. +3 durability and speed with +1 power. The hits per 9, though, -2. Not the best. You don't want hits per 9 really in that spot, but I really like the durability boost and that speed boost. Alex Guerra down here doesn't have the speed boost, does have plate discipline. I think we'll go Guerra instead, just so we don't get any negatives here, as Keno would give us that -2 hits per 9. So instead we'll go Guerra here, just a 2-year deal, and we'll go up to $3 million for him. And still awaiting the decision here of Alonso and Santander, as TJ Antone, another valuable piece, probably our best pitcher from the bullpen last year, decides to decline his, as does Santander and as does Pete Alonso. So all these players declining their player options, and now Guerra declines our offer. He's going to the Philadelphia Phillies as their farm director. And now with all that, we now have to negotiate here with Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander, TJ Antone, and I think Nick Senzel as well. I think we already had an offer in on Senzel. I must have withdrew it. I think for Senzel, we'll actually up it. I'll go to 15.5 for him. Actually, we'll just go to 16 even. I think, a strategy we have to kind of implement here in this offseason. We've got to keep our core in place, and Nick Senzel, I think he's going to reach another level next season. And even with that 55 contact righties, with that 72 clutch, that kind of makes up for it. And I think he'll continue to evolve as an offensive player and probably be a nice middle of the order, bottom of the order type guy. So 2 years, $16 million. And we'll go player option just to entice him a little bit more. Love throwing that out there for players that you're negotiating with. Now, Pete Alonso, so 32 years old, 93 overall, and he saw a great progression. 96 power versus righties, 94 versus lefties, 52 home runs, his highest total since his rookie season. Added 298, OBP 380, slugging 600. So everything along the slash line there, career highs for him. And it's not, I thought that he might kind of decline a little bit. Let's see what he's demanding. So 5 years, 84, which isn't bad at all. I'm not really into signing these players past age like 35, so I think we would go maybe 3 years for him. We'll give him that player option. We'll front load it, and we'll bump it up since we did knock down the yearly total. So he wants 18.8. I wouldn't even mind going to 60 million here to lock him up. And he won a Gold Glove, a couple seasons ago for us in his first season here with the Rockies. And I think he's someone we got to keep in the lineup and kind of phase out in these next couple years. So front-loaded player deal at $20 million even for Pete Alonso. We'll give him a $5 million boost from that option he declined. Now for Anthony Santander. And he's a player, just came up with huge hits there on that postseason run, even in the regular season. 42 home runs. He led our team in RBIs each season. He was in Colorado 116 last year, 117 this year. And even though he is regressing a little bit, I think the bat is going to stay good enough to stick in our designated hitter spot. So he wants 8.8, which was pretty much what the player option he declined was worth. But we'll even go up. We'll make it 9.5 for him and try to keep, like I said, we want to keep this core in place. So Alonso, Santander, Mize not so much, maybe upgrade his spot in the rotation. I don't think he'll accept that $12 million deal, but after we advance just one more day, we'll be able to see what the free agent pool is looking like. TJ Antone, and he's 33 years old, progressing still, though -1 there in clutch. 9 wins out of the bullpen, 80 2/3, by far a career high for him. Previously of the Cincinnati Reds, 2.01 ERA, 1.19 WHIP, so probably his most dominant season so far. 92 strikeouts in such a heavy workload here for a middle relief type guy. So definitely want to try and keep him if we can. I think we'll give him a 2-year player option, which is exactly what we went with last time when we signed him as a free agent. So 2 years, $12 million, still not even getting him in there in the green. I think we'll just go to 13. 2 years, $13 million. Player option we'll do front loaded for this year, as that now puts us at $61.8 million of $88 million in available budget. But like I said, we can just withdraw this $12 million from Casey Mize, which would give us around like $40 million in budget to work with in free agency, which I think would be more than enough, as we don't have many holes to fill. We really just need to get a starting pitcher, upgrade a spot or two in the bullpen, and then maybe just add a nice platoon guy on offense. But if we're able to get back Santander, Alonso, that fills spots that we need in the lineup at this point, along with Senzel. So not many holes to fill if we can keep this core together that led us to the postseason for the first time in this franchise. So we'll sim ahead another day, as we finally do get a farm director. We just offered there Marlon DeYoung as our farm director for 1 season. I'm so glad I had that notification. I did want to give Pete Alonso, I do want to tender him, because we're offering him $20 million per year anyway, so might as well tender him. If he does sign elsewhere, we get some compensation, and that's certainly worth it. So 3 years, $60 million, I think that's very fair, and we'll see how that develops. Even if he doesn't accept it and we see a more enticing option open on the market, we might just elect to go a different route. So we'll sim here officially into free agency, and we'll get our first look at this year's pool. So Pete Alonso debuts as the top overall here in free agency. Tariq Skubal, as he has a 5-year offer, $106 million from the Tigers. Almost traded for him instead of Casey Mize there at the trade deadline. As Skubal, over 200 innings pitched, 2.98 ERA, 1.16 WHIP. Love the lefty with the 5-pitch mix. All of his per 9 categories at least low 70, but mostly high 70. Walks per 9 there at 81 with 99 velocity, 82 break. And he's someone I don't know if we'll have the budget for, but I wouldn't mind maybe chasing him instead of going after Casey Mize and just withdrawing that altogether. So we'll stick here just the overall talents. Hae-Sung Kim of San Diego, a Gold Glove caliber shortstop. Won it a couple years back in the bat there versus lefties. Elite. A 20 home run season, 27 stolen bases as he hit 2020 for the first time. Ryan Mountcastle, a 91 overall first baseman. A little bit younger than Pete Alonso, and probably cheaper. Yeah, a lot cheaper actually. So that's what I'm saying. Do we go after Mountcastle, a younger option with better baseball in front of him? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think Alonso still has MVP caliber play for another season or two, so I think it's worth it to go after Alonso. Although Mountcastle wouldn't be a bad backup plan. Here's Evan Phillips, the man who recorded the last out against us in the NLDS Closer of the Year, 49 out of 52. And it would be overkill if we try to get him into our bullpen there with Ken Hughes, as Dodgers are trying to get him back aggressively. 4 years, $60 million. Nico Horner emerging as one of the best second basemen in baseball. Tremendous glove, high contact, high vision, and clutch. Batted .293, a typical number 2 hitter, leadoff hitter maybe, as he's made 3 straight All-Star games. The Cubs offering him 5 years, $82 million. David Bednar, a good closer here. Jose Alvarado was a dominant closer there for Philadelphia, 48 out of 50. And all these guys would be tremendous additions to the bullpen. Yandy Diaz, although he is 35, still at A potential. 319 batting last year with 316 the year before. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to keep it going at 35, but 90 overall, so maybe at least another couple seasons, unless he just flat out regresses horribly, like you see there, -8 power versus lefties, but stealing and base running aggressiveness up +6, +4, you don't really see that. Jazz Chisholm, he would be a very fun addition. 29 home runs last year, a career high. A pretty stacked free agent pool, I gotta say. A lot of guys here, a lot of quality players. It doesn't really have, that Juan Soto at the top, but a bunch of quality guys here. Dustin May, we saw he had that dominant performance to clinch Game 7 there in the World Series, I think 8 2/3. This is getting a big offer. Alejandro Kirk, 99 vision, +12 power versus lefties, as he's set for another big payday. Pete Fairbanks, Brian Abreu. So you kind of get the picture here. Freddie Peralta, some good pitchers, some good players overall available. Ryan Jeffers, as I think now we'll go position by position and kind of pinpoint what we're going to do here and kind of formulate our plan of attack. But before we actually dive into free agency altogether, I did want to introduce our draft picks from this last draft. That's something we didn't get to during the regular season. And we started it off here with Franklin Delaney, 18-year-old at right field, B potential, lefty bat, lefty arm, very good speed, good base stealer, good base running aggressiveness. So a guy who can run the bases, kind of what we don't have right now at the MLB level in any of our everyday players. Good glove out there as well as strong arm. Already pretty good power, especially against righties, but the contact, the vision, discipline is going to have to come around a little bit. But Franklin Delaney, we got him at 14th overall, and he was our target, so we got who we wanted there. I believe 86 potential, and he's going to probably work his way up into the bigs within the next 2 or 3 years by the time maybe he's 21 years old. Then in the second round, we selected Wanyang-Hu, 66 overall, another B potential outfielder, although I think he might have been a little bit higher than Delaney, but 95 speed. So in these first two hitters, we got very good speed there in a right fielder and a center fielder. Delaney more of a power bat, but Wanyang-Hu, very good contact guy with vision, already pretty high up there. Not that good of a fielder, but he kind of makes up that deficiency with his speed, going to cover a lot of range out there in center. So potential starter here in center and right there with Delaney, who's 18 years old, Wanyang-Hu, who's 18, coming over from South Korea. And then in the third round, we went with a third baseman, Mike Costello, another 18-year-old, 6'5", 238 out of Iowa. This dude could play tight end for the Hawkeyes. Very good bat already, especially against lefties with 72 lefty contact, 73 power, vision, discipline, clutch, very high up there. Although the glove, nothing special, the arm, nothing special, and average speed. So never going to be a good fielder, but maybe just a DH pinch hitter type guy off the bench. And if we go up here to Alex Parra, who was our first round pick last year at 7 overall, led our AAA team with 24 home runs. He has 72 contact lefties, 72 power versus lefties. And Costello actually right there with him with the 72, but actually 1 point better there in power. But Parra going to compete for a roster spot this coming season. Not quite sure if he's ready, though. And then in the third round, we took a starting pitcher here, adding to our already deep pitching staff here. We have in our organization Lewis Spencer, an A potential pitcher, another 18-year-old, a little bit longer term of a project than the other guys, but going to have a 5-pitch mix, a potential middle of the rotation type guy, maybe works into a high-end starter at some point, but it will take some time, as he does have the 74 velocity, good Ks per 9 at this point, but a lot of work to do. But the stuff is good there with 74 velocity, 64 break. In our last round pick, actually Scott Marrero here, an even more long-term project, 99 velocity, the left-hander out of the Dominican Republic. He's going to take quite a bit to develop, but I think his potential might have been higher than Spencer. So not only did we get those 2 quality outfielders, we got 2 starting pitchers here with a potential Lewis Spencer, already a top 50 prospect in baseball. And we're already with Rudy Smith here, who was a 5th or 6th round pick in our year 1 draft, turned out to be 98 potential. Just absurd snag there. Diamond in the rough. Then Herb Lopez also in that year 1 draft. I think our second pitcher we selected, the lefty with very good stuff. He too, a top 50 prospect. Michael Yamashita we have here, who is the number 3 overall pick in that same draft. He marked the first selection in this franchise. Juan Ayala in that draft as well. So our starting pitching obviously super deep. And we added 2 more talented guys. And Michael Yamashita, 73 overall, 20 years old. And then Juan Ayala. I think we're going to have them compete in the spring for our 5th rotation spot. As Ayala, 64 there, walks per 9, 59 Ks per 9. The hits and the home runs pretty low. Yamashita, though, the hits and Ks pretty low. Although the walks and the home runs a little bit higher than Ayala. Ayala, better stuff and better command at this point than Yamashita. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, we have Fried, Savali, and Flaherty. Also want to bring in a starting pitcher there in free agency, at least one. So if we sign him in, don't get another one, we'll have Ayala, Yamashita, maybe Kyle Freeland try to secure a spot in the rotation, although I want him to move to the bullpen next season. And I think we had 1 or 2 more picks coming over here to first base. Rob Torres, a B potential first baseman. I think he was our 4th or 5th round selection. Never going to be a good fielder, but already high contact. Going to be very good against lefties. And that 74 vision, 72 discipline, 73 clutch, just absolutely absurd for a 19-year-old. And we love that B potential. So just add him as a late round pick. We already have Muhammad Huffman, another B potential first baseman, more of a long-term project. Although Rob Torres is already more ready to play than Huffman. So I think we'll keep Huffman in single A. And maybe Rob Torres starts off as our double A second baseman. And then we had 1 more pick. We have a bunch of center fielders here. We saw Wanyang-Hu, B potential at 18 years old. Last year we drafted Luis Castro. He's another B potential center fielder at 20 years old, a late round pick. Also Robert Marmoleo here, an A potential center fielder. He and Castro, I think we selected last year in the 5th and 6th round, and we ended up with high potential center fielders here, although Marmolejo only 57 overall at 23 years old. But we also had Armando Cabrera in this past draft. Very high speed, stealing, base running, aggressiveness, but really nothing else of note. Just a late round pick. We saw the potential, a lefty bat there in center with very good speed. Figured we'd just throw a dart, but that'll do it with rookies, as our farm system was top in the MLB last season, and I'm willing to bet that it still stands there at the top, as we're now a playoff team here with our Colorado Rockies, and we have the top farm system in baseball. So offline, I just went ahead and threw some contracts at our guys. Nothing groundbreaking here. A bunch of minor leaguers. I don't know if there's really anyone we wanted to talk about. At backup catcher, it might be Willie McIver next season. I think we're going to have him compete along with maybe Ronald Cabrera here and Heriberto Hernandez here at left field, who also has that catcher designation. So I think we are going to have an open competition there for our catcher spot. There's really nothing on the market, and our budget is going to be pretty tight here as we move along. David Castilla, a potential second baseman, going to be a future batting champion. And then we have Tom Park, the #1 prospect in all of baseball. He was like a 3rd or 4th round pick in that year 2 draft. Drafting super well. As I said, Parra might find a spot on the roster next year, maybe if not at a spring training at some point during the season, as we really want to use that bat against lefties. Yanquiel Fernandez slated for a starting spot in left field. Saw progression across the board, but just didn't really produce like we had hoped. To fall off there from his first full season. So hopefully in his age 25 year kind of finds a new level, establishes himself as one of the top young outfielders in the division, as he does have that A potential, 24 years old. And now we'll go over here to arbitration. And Taj Bradley, we're actually going to throw a contract offer at 12.2 over 3 years. He's pitched extremely well since we acquired him there in year 1, as we sent Charlie Blackmon and Elias Diaz to the Tampa Bay Rays during their playoff push that year. But 105 innings last year, his first full year with the Rockies, and then 96 2/3 this past season. A sub-3 ERA, a whip at 1.24, and tremendous progression across the board. +9 home runs per 9, +4 their hits and Ks. So I think he's someone who's really played his way to earning a long-term contract, kind of maybe not long-term, but a multi-year contract, rather than just going straight arbitration. But we did offer him arbitration. We offered him a contract. But either way, he'll be back in Colorado next year as our long reliever. And then Lucas Gilbreth, we offered salary arbitration, +8 walks per 9, good progression otherwise. 50 innings even, a 3.24 ERA, a 1.22 whip, and he's been very solid over the course of this franchise. Pretty much gets better each season, as we're hoping Gregory Soto signs back, as they'll be the 2 lefties in our bullpen. Now with Joe Adell, I'm super torn because he's still a B potential. He's 28, and he's seeing good progression across the board, very good speed, which is something we do need off the bench, but he just didn't really produce, only 157 at-bats, so really not a big sample size, but just 166 batting, 220 OBP, and the fielding is nothing special, so maybe if he was a good fielder, you can kind of take that trade-off with the lack of bat, but I think we might look elsewhere to replace his spot on the bench, although we might come back to him before the deadline and offer him arbitration. Ryan Feltner, we are just going to let walk, 30 years old, 72 overall, and he does have very good stuff. He like that 5-pitch mix, and he still is seeing good progression, but in this franchise, we've given him over 200 innings, an ERA probably averaged out at like 6.5 over his career, going back even further, 364 innings total, 6.26 ERA to show for it. So Ryan Feltner really just didn't harness it here in Colorado. Maybe a change of scenery will do him well. And then Pavin Smith was a spring training standout going into year 2. In that year 2 spring training, he was just, a veteran spring training invite, and he actually ended up playing very well, although he just missed the starting roster that year. What would he want for arbitration? He wants like $1 million. We might just hang him here for now, revisit. So now we'll jump into the free agency pool, and as it's been emphasized, we really need a starting pitcher. So we'll start here, and Tariq Skubal would be phenomenal getting a lefty. He does have that qualifying offer. Now with a late pick after making the playoffs, I wouldn't even mind sacrificing a second-round pick, whatever it is, to bring in Tariq Skubal, but he just wants too much money than we can afford right now. as we would have to shed like $10 million more to even be able to be in contention there. Going down the board, there's Dustin May. It'd be nice to, pluck him from a division rival, the Dodgers, who outed us in the NLDS. 15 wins this year. Just really struggled to stay healthy. Before last season, only 20 starts, 34 starts in the previous 6 seasons. So he's finally healthy, and he's kind of playing at that level you expect. 93 hits per 9. Everything else there in the mid-60s with a 66 clutch. And velocity break maxed out with 80 control. So I'm very tempted here with Dustin May. The Dodgers offering him 6 years at 72.8, which is less than Casey Mize was demanding. And I think Dustin May is definitely a better pitcher than Mize. If we were able to sign him, bring him in with Max Fried, we have 2 legit pitchers there at the top of our rotation. But I think 6 years may be a bit excessive. I would try 4 years with a player option. And I'd be willing to go maybe like 55 million, 52 million. Let's just start here at 55. 4 years, 55, and that does put us ahead of the Dodgers with like $2 million left to spare. So I don't know if that's maybe the best option. We might want to find someone a little bit cheaper. Garrett Crochet, very good. I would like to get another lefty for the rotation along with Fried, but I don't really like that 60 stamina. He's a guy that's never going to be able to go like beyond 6 innings, if that. Only 10 quality starts too, mainly due to that low stamina, I would think so. And he wants quite a bit of money as well. He wants more than Dustin May, so I don't think Garrett Crochet is an option. Maybe a cheaper lefty here down the board. Tristan McKenzie wants like $20 million a year. He's even the same age as May. Maybe a little bit more well-rounded, but I think May just has dynamite stuff. We saw him clinch that Game 7 in the World Series against Tampa Bay, so we kind of need that pitcher who can pitch in big games and deliver, has that experience. Freddie Peralta, only 4 years, $52 million. Another A potential guy, although the velocity break, not what you really want from an ace. The control, though, he's going to have good command, work hitters well, but kind of down the past couple years. He was in Milwaukee there in that contract year, did not perform well. Now signs a 1-year deal with St. Louis as they were defending their World Series title, and they had a very bad season. And now they are trying to sign him back, though. So 4 years, 52. It's pretty much the same that we were offering Dustin May, and I think May is a better pitcher. Kyle Wright, a very good stint here with Kansas City, as he was instrumental in that rotation that led them to the ALDS, or actually the ALCS, as they fell there to Tampa Bay. We're up 3-0 on the Rays and lost in Game 7. So Kyle Wright, he wants a little bit more than May as well. I believe 567. Actually, probably around the same, but Wright a couple years older, not as good. Patrick Sandoval, another lefty, as I said, definitely want to get a lefty. Good home runs per 9, which we need at Coors Field. Good hits per 9, Ks per 9, and walks per 9 growing. Control there at just under 70 with good velocity, good break as well. The numbers not the best there on a bad Los Angeles team, although last year 14-9. Let's see what he's only asking for $10 million a year, about $12 million per year, so a little bit cheaper there than May. I don't know if there's a scenario where we can pursue both. As even though I really want a lefty, I still prefer May. Luis Garcia, another solid pitcher, solid number 2, number 3 type guy in your rotation. 45 wins over the past 3 years would certainly fit well, with his playoff team that we now have. Good numbers for the Astros. And he's demanding just around $10 million, so kind of the same here of Sandoval. So we kind of see the market kind of break off a little bit, as most of these guys now. Actually, Rogers, he wants like $12, $13 million per year. The numbers have never really been good for Trevor Rogers, going back maybe to that 2021 season where he was an all-star. But after, he didn't even throw, he only threw 133 innings that year. But after that, ERA all over 4, over 5 in some seasons. Has good stuff, but I just don't think he's someone we want to add. Just a little more inconsistent. Drew Rasmussen, a good pitcher here for the pennant-winning Tampa Bay Rays. Another guy asking for $10 million. Now Brady Singer. I actually really like Brady Singer with that A potential, but comparing him to May, he's like 5 points worse overall-wise, a year older, although he is coming off probably his best season, and I think he still has a lot of room to grow as he just hits 30 years old, only asking $12 million per year. So I do kind of like Brady Singer as well, but again, I don't think there's a scenario where we can sign multiple of these guys. So I think we might have to go Dustin May from the jump as our premier target, and then if we miss out on him, we'll have to settle for one of these guys like Sandoval, Luis Garcia, Rasmussen, Singer, Jesus Luzardo, another lefty, 99 velocity, 95 break. He's been solid for a bad Miami team. And they're not even offering him, but he does want a lot. He wants $16 million. And we see here Casey Mize. And Mize wants $16 million as well. So Luzardo and Mize here, guys, both 29 years old. And they're trying to get a big payday. Now, Jose Urquidy has been solid for Atlanta after signing there for 2 seasons, but I don't know if he offers as much upside as a guy like Singer or Garcia down here. Marcus Stroman at 35 years old, coming off like his best season with Minnesota, as he was part of a very good rotation there. Made an all-star game, his third here at 35 years old. A.J. Puck. And as we get down here, kind of breaks off talent level. I mean, Reynaldo Lopez was solid for Atlanta, but we're looking for an upgrade here. And as we go further down the board, Walker Buehler, I just don't think we're going to find that, really. Lance McCullers solid, but that 39 walks per 9. And he only wants like $5 million. He's a good like number 4, number 5 guy. And then as we just scroll quickly here, a bunch of older guys who are probably not going to pursue. Mike Soroka, decent year there with San Francisco, still growing at that B potential. It's been up and down over the course of his career, but Clayton Kershaw, Luis Severino. So you get the gist. Peter Lambert here from our Rockies. Wonder where he'll catch on. German Marquez spent last year in Boston, and they're actually offering him a contract. So I think the plan of attack here, as far as starting pitching goes, we would definitely like to get 2 guys in here, but more of a priority is getting a high-end rotation type guy to complement Max Fried up there. So I think Dustin May is who we're going to pursue, 29 years old, a 4-year contract, as we said, with that player option. And I think going $55 million, it's pretty much right on the head of what he wants, given that player option, as we'll try to steal him away from Los Angeles. So that now leaves us with just over $2 million in available budget, and we still want to sign a reliever, and we want to sign a platoon player, as there are some quality relievers here. TJ Antone, we offered that 2-year, $13 million contract to, but I don't know if maybe now we look to decrease it a little bit. So we will stay with 2-year, 13 player option, as that was exactly what we already had. So I do feel fine, sticking with a pretty decent contract here for Antone. As I did stress, we want to kind of keep our core intact. So we just need one more righty to kind of replace the spot of Scott Barlow, who we let walk as well. We see Scott Barlow here, 34 years old. What does he want? So he wants like 2.5. So we need to find an upgrade of kind of equal value. Chad Green, 2.2 million, 35 years old. Not the best year there in Toronto. Cabrera, lefty. Phil Maton, though, for Philadelphia, a little bit older at 34, but the 91 clutch, 89 hits per 9. The strikeouts, walks per 9, solid, with very good break spin rate, as he's been on winning teams, every single season, as they made a World Series run last year with Tampa Bay. He was with the Phillies as they made the NLDS. The NLCS. Houston there previously. Some good playoff runs there. So he's been around on some winning teams. 38 2/3 this past year with Philly as their setup man, 24 holds, 75 innings the year prior. 1.4 ERA this past season, a sub-1 whip. And he's only won like around $4 million, which I think is a pretty good value. And just a 1-year contract for a middle relief type guy. I certainly would consider that an upgrade. Dylan Tate here, good walks per 9, very good clutch there at 97. Good velocity break. The Ks per 9, not that great, but you love the clutch and the velocity. 115 2/3 last year for Baltimore, who won the AL East. Very good numbers the past 2 years there in Baltimore. I kind of like Dylan Tate as well, a sinker baller. And with that low Ks per 9, going to put the ball in play. So maybe a good sinker baller coming out of the bullpen. He's only asking for like just over $3 million. So between he and Maton, I kind of like both of them, but I don't know if we'll be able to pursue both. Perez lefty, Poche lefty, Soto here. So we're offering Soto $2.8 million. Good season for our Rockies. And then Perez and Poche, other lefties here, demanding like the same. We have John Curtis, a 1-year, $3 million. So maybe instead of going after Curtis, we try to replace Curtis and Barlow with Tate and Phil Maton, but I do like Curtis. He's been solid over the course of this franchise, even now at 34 years old. I think we kind of owe it to him to bring him back. 1.85 ERA, 105 whip. in a setup role last year. Even if he's not a setup man for year 4, he can still be a good option out of the bullpen. Josh Stomont was the closer for the Yankees last year. 47 saves. They're trying to bring him back. Luke Jackson, 35 years old. Gallegos, Loizaga, and a bunch of older guys here. Michael Kopech, 99 clutch. Spent last year in Boston, 62 and a third, but still a little wild trying to get it together at this point in his career. But the potential was at A, falls down to B. We only have $2 million to work with, so we're going to have to free up some budget. And we'll go over to offers. I think we are going to stick with Alonso, that 3-year, $60 million deal. But Santander, they're at 1 year, $9.5 million. Would love to bring him back as our designated hitter. But I did notice a cheaper option who might even be a better player, this coming season. So I think we will withdraw that on Santander. He was tremendous for us in the postseason, 42 home runs this year, super reliable at the plate. But I think we'll look elsewhere to just free up some budget, allocate that elsewhere. As we're going to go after Antone, even Senzel here at 2 years, $16 million. I think we might be able to drop that a little bit, but I don't want to get too greedy here if another team were to jump on him. So I think we will just stick there. Actually, 2 years, $16 million for Senzel. And I think we'll actually backload it with a player option. We're going to get a lot of money off the books next year between Freeland, Senzatella, and the contracts of also Ryan McMahon. So that's going to be like upwards of $40 million that will free up. So I don't mind backloading a couple of these contracts. Soto, Curtis we might have to pull off of, but now that we took out Santander, we have like $12 million in budget to sign a DH, a relief pitcher, and a utility man. So we also had closers to look at, but we're not going to be able to pursue any of these guys. Phillips, Alvarado, David Bednar, Pete Fairbanks, Romano even. He was a closer for the White Sox last year. They lost like 120 games. They're actually trying to bring him back. As I mentioned, really no backup catcher options. Kirk's going to get a big contract. Ryan Jeffers is going to get a big contract. He's actually getting offered more than Kirk at this point. Jonah Heim going to get a big contract. Jake Rogers probably going to get a big contract. So as I said earlier, I think our backup catcher spot, maybe we'll look to the Rule 5 draft, or we'll be able to find an FA later on in free agency. So Tyler Stevenson, a potential, but not that good of a glove back there. Strong arm. Going to hit lefties well. Still a lot of room to grow, but looks like he was hurt last year. Only 54 at-bats. Batted .204. And he wants like close to $10 million. Not a bad prove-it deal kind of for Tyler Stevenson if he's still sitting around there later on. So at first base, if not Pete Alonso, if we do miss out on him and a team tries to throw a lot of money at him, I think Ryan Mountcastle here is not a bad backup plan. Similar fielder there at first. Probably better against lefties, but the fall off there against righties is pretty dramatic compared to Alonso. But you love that 88 clutch. Career year for him last year. Slugged over 500. And he wants like half the money that Alonso is demanding. But Alonso will stay loyal to our guy, someone who's an MVP candidate and a very good player after kind of buying in with us back in year 1 in that offseason. Was really the first major free agent that we signed. Some other decent options there at first, but nothing we're going after. And now with Senzel kind of serving as our top bat off the bench against lefties, we need, in turn, a lefty bat who can kind of serve the same purpose. Brandon Lowe would be nice, but not in our price range. Probably someone around like $5 million, $4 million, if not maybe a little bit cheaper. Thairo Estrada, the Giants trying to bring him back. Brandon Drury, a little bit older, and not a lefty bat. Jonathan India. Mateo, any lefty bats here? Gavin Lux, 76 overall. I like the fielding and the speed off the bench as like a platoon guy, but he's probably going to want a starting role. Career high in at-bats last year, 10 home runs, and he hit 2 home runs in that Game 4 NLDS game against us. Slugged over 400, OBP at 342, so a good OPS. But as I said, they're probably going to want to be an everyday player. Although he is actually requesting a platoon role at around $6 million. I would really, really like Gavin Lux as someone we can insert into the lineup. Maybe not every day, but every other day. Just mix him in here and there. Can play pretty much every position on the field. So I actually really like Gavin Lux, and we do have the budget, but we do have to, fill Santander's spot and fill a reliever spot as well. So I don't know if the money's going to be there for us. Josh Rojas, another lefty bat, but regressing at this stage. With Lux, be potential. He still has room to grow. And he's a few years younger here than from Rojas, who is a good lefty bat, though. Hit 22 home runs, batted 300 last year. I'm not sure where he ended up, as he's not even getting a contract offer. The fielding, though, not that great, and the speed, not good. We want someone with a little speed there off the bench. Kevin Biggio, decent speed, another lefty. Although 82 contact versus lefties, we need him to have that against righties. But a very good season there with Minnesota in their playoff run. Jorge Polanco regressing, a little bit older. Arroyo, a right-handed bat. So Gavin Lux definitely our top option right now for to fill that platoon spot. We're trying to fill up Alec Boehm, a free agent. Patrick Wisdom, I believe, won the home run derby back in year one that year, where he smacked 43 home runs, but only 32 combined over the past season. A little fall off there. 35 years old. How much does he want? He'd be a sick pinch hitter. He wants 6.2. Not really what we need. Luis Urias asking for $6 million. Then we have Nick Senzel here. We're offering him $8 million, which is way more than Alec Boehm is getting offered. He's only getting offered less than $5 million per year, and we're sitting here giving Senzel an $8 million contract. So I think we might be able to afford maybe putting it down to 15, saving that million. And we still have that player option, so we will save up a little bit of space there, but hopefully we don't really get into a bidding war for him. Mundo Sosa, decent player. Yoan Moncada, Eugenio Suarez, J.D. Davis. None of these guys lefty bats. Max Muncy, but not really what we're looking for. Someone with a little bit better speed, versatility. Abraham Toro, pretty solid. Good vision, clutch, progressing across the board. Decent glove. Speed, nothing crazy, but above average. Can play any base. And look at this. He's been a role player, throughout the course of his career, but he's been in like a different team every year. Angels, Cardinals, Oakland, Milwaukee, Seattle. This year he got traded, so probably was on Houston heading into 2021 that got traded. So that's 2 teams, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different teams in the matter of like 6, 7 seasons. And we'll see where he ends up. What's he asking for? Kind of wants a little. He wants just under what Gavin Lux is demanding. So Lux definitely the preferred option there. Not sure. This might be where we find our guy Hae-Sung Kim, the top name here. Orlando Arcia. J.P. Crawford, a lefty bat, but he hits lefties pretty much better than he hits righties. Very good discipline, but not speed, not the glove that we want. Garrett Hampson, I've always thought about bringing him back. We tried to bring him back, I think, in 2025, but he signed a 2-year contract instead with San Francisco. Love that speed, the glove, the versatility, but really wish he was a lefty. Paul DeJong, Tim Anderson, as we get into the 60s. Now in the outfield, this might be where we find our DH. I mean, Wisdom or Alec Boehm even as a DH wouldn't be bad options, but Boehm, the power there against righties, not going to do it. Wisdom wish he was a little bit better contact, low vision, not going to get him in as a DH. Really no one here, no one here. Maybe Vaughn? The hitting going up, +8 against lefties. And he only wants like $5 million per year. Spent last year with the Yankees. So I think Vaughn actually might be a decent DH option. 30 long balls there in the Bronx. So I think he was traded to the Yankees. Wasn't there all last year. So Vaughn looks to be our premier DH option if we do, in fact, have to move on from Santander. Arozarena, not going to be able to afford him, nor Varsho. Teoscar Hernandez, maybe, but he's regressing. 26 home runs last year with the Cubs. They won the NL Central. Tyler O'Neill, probably not. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., regressing, a little bit older. Eloy Jimenez. Look at that. +8 power versus righties, +11 power versus lefties. Progressing across the board. Not a good fielder, but would be a tremendous designated hitter. 39 home runs last year, 99 RBIs, slugged .537, so it looks like he might be reaching a new level. That's pretty much the best year he's had since 2019, 2020. Looks like he was traded from the White Sox to the Padres last year, and despite moving to that pitchers-friendly park there in Petco, the power numbers were on point. So he's only asking for like $5 million, and I would give that to him. I would even probably go up to 16. 3 years, $16 million, and still growing as a hitter. So if he's the guy, we bring in to replace Santander, I don't know that we'll have much of a regression in that spot. Especially, Santander regressing now at this point, Jimenez progressing. So I think throughout the course of the season, Jimenez might even end up as a better player compared to Santander. So Jimenez and Gavin Lux look to be pretty good options here to fill out our roster, bringing some really good additions there to the lineup. Taylor Ward, a little bit older. Jake Fraley, a lefty, but just an outfielder. Ian Happ, not a lefty, but a switch hitter, but regressing. He would be a fun option. 20 home runs, 280. Played very well this past year. And he's demanding around the same as Lux, but I still prefer Lux. There's really nothing else for left fielders. Andrew Benintendi, no center field. Jazz Chisholm would be fun. And I think his energy, his grit is something we could welcome to our team, but a liability against lefties. And he's going to want like a max deal, probably. Have to give up compensation for him. Over $20 million. Probably can't afford that. Cody Bellinger, maybe. He wants like $12 million. Probably not. Some decent players here. Harrison Bader. Last 2 seasons in Pittsburgh. Decline here as we go on now into right field. So here's Santander. And as we said, he wants like $8-9 million a year. So if we were to go after Helllooo Jimenez, that would provide like a $2 million cheaper deal with maybe even a boost in production. So there, Max Kepler, Castellanos, Renfroe. So that pretty much does it with the free agent class. I mean, a good amount of quality guys. And I think now we kind of have our strategy set. Dustin May is going to be our premier target. And I do want to go after Gavin Lux and Helllooo Jimenez. Is that something we can make happen? So they're offering him 3 years, 14.7. We'll jump in. We'll go 3 years, 16. Backload it up and give him that player option. As that puts us now with like 7.5, which does give us ample space, I think, to go after Gavin Lux. And I think with him, I also like a 3-year deal. I want to check out Brendan Rodgers. We did sign him to a multi-year deal last offseason. Potential drop, but progressing still across the board. Career high in home runs. And we have him for 2 more years, and then he'll have a player option. So we could look to fill our second base spot after that. Although we do have good prospects as well here in Castilla. He's not too far away, from cracking the big leagues. Although never going to be out there for his glove. So maybe more of a DH type guy. And then we have Tom Park. Could also play shortstop though. So I think Rodgers, we have to prepare, after that year, that 2028 season, as he could not return if he declines that player option. So maybe we do a 3-year deal for Lux where we put a club option. That way it kind of overlaps with Rodgers. And then we can decide if we want to keep Lux, if Rodgers were to opt out. So that kind of gives us some more flexibility. And I'm kind of tempted to just put it to everyday role. I mean, he probably won't be out there every day, but he's going to play the majority. Splitting time there in left with Fernandez, filling in the infield. So I think I will just put it at every day to boost up that interest as well. But I think we will keep it with a club option, and we'll backload it for Gavin Lux, as we do expect him to progress a little bit more. So this year he'll probably be making like 4.5, and then maybe that year 3 up to like 7-8 million or so. So that puts us just under the available budget, as we have 1.6. And we still do want to go after a reliever, though. So if we wanted to go after Phil Maton, or I think it was Dylan Tate here. Tate wants like 3. So if we can free up a couple million in our budget, that might be enough to go after one of those relievers we wanted. In addition, here to Gavin Lux and Helllooo Jimenez. So should we withdraw here from Curtis, put that $3 million towards Phil Maton, and then try to fill Curtis's spot later on? I think that is the play for now. I don't imagine Curtis is going to sign, fairly quick. With Tate, though, he's getting an offer. Phil Maton's getting an offer. We kind of have to jump on them. And I think Maton is the priority. Mainly that 91 clutch is just phenomenal. And he's not going to allow any hits regardless. And we'll go 1 year, $4 million here on Phil Maton. And that puts us at 0.6 now, as we're just barely getting by here by the skin of our teeth. But we did put backloads on some of these contracts. So once that kicks into effect, that'll free up some budget as well. But I think now we're set to advance a little bit and see how this plays out. We'll simulate a couple of days here. As the first domino to fall, Evan Phillips is going over to Texas. on a $17.3 million deal. Last year, the Rangers signed Dylan Cease as the main starting pitcher on the market. This year, they got Evan Phillips, the premier closer of the year, won a World Series there with the Dodgers. And he's now going to Texas. They've made huge splashes in free agency, of course, bringing over Corey Seager, Marcus Semien in recent years. So I think we did get signings here. Taj Bradley did sign that $12 million over 3 years with a team option for that third season. So we lock up our long relief spot. And in doing so, we actually freed up some cap because I guess with I was going to say we backloaded Taj Bradley, but not the case. So I don't know what happened there, as now we have our offer. So Pete Alonso actually being bid on by San Francisco as they're trying to steal him away. Dustin May, we're still leading the Houston Astros, getting in on his bidding. TJ Antone, we're still alone. Alo Jimenez, we have just barely over San Diego. Senzel, we're still alone there. Phil Maton, still the only team above Philly. And no one bidding yet for Gavin Lux or Gregory Soto. So now we have to kind of rework Pete Alonso, as they did go up 1 year, added $16 million. We're still higher, AAV, average value, but we did qualify him also, so you have to remember that. We did tender him, so we will get compensation, but we do not want to lose Pete Alonso, and I don't really want to go over 3 years, so I think we'll just go up now to $63 million, give him $1 extra million per season, make it an even 21, and see how that goes. So we do jump San Francisco now. At this point, we have $3.3 million in available budget. I think maybe we just look to secure another reliever then at this spot, since we do have that open budget. It would be John Curtis, and he's not being offered, so I think we'll just hang here and see how the rest of this plays out. Wilson had 2 more days as the Blue Jays claim someone. We just cut an older outfielder there in our organization, and we'll recheck now our offers as Alonso. We're still leading. Dustin May still leading. And nothing else has changed. We did get a signing, though. So Phil Maton actually does sign with our Rockies, as he'll look to bolster our bullpen, pretty much taking over Scott Barlow's spot. And I think he's going to do very well. 74-mile-per-hour sweeping curve, 89-mile-per-hour on the fastball, 1.4 ERA, a .91 whip. And we also did sign Gavin Lux. Wow, I'm surprised. So we did backload this one, $5.1 million in year 1 of this contract, $6 million in the middle, and 6.9 there. We'll have that club option in 2029 as Gavin Lux. I thought this was going to be a longer negotiation. I'm surprised he wasn't demanding more of a role. But I think he saw our Rockies really grow over the past couple of years, and I think he's buying in. And he's going to be a key piece for us. Yanquiel Fernandez accepted his $2 million contract, as now we have $4 million in available budget, as we're still bidding for Alonso, May, TJ Antone, Jimenez, Senzel, and Gregory Soto, with 1 more spot to fill in our bullpen. Dylan Tate, now the Mets jumping on him. John Curtis still without an offer. We could try and, replace Tate with Curtis. I'm sorry, vice versa, Curtis with Tate, but I think we'll try and just stick with John Curtis. We'll get him that 1 year, $3 million deal, which will put us at 1.5 left in budget. And I think after that, we're kind of done making moves, as that would really, fill everything we were trying to do here. We'll sim here to Saturday. And Pete Alonso goes to the Dodgers. What the heck? Jose Alvarado to Miami. Pete Alonso signs with the Dodgers as he pulls a Kevin Durant. I thought he was going to come back to Colorado, but, San Fran, the Dodgers offering him more years as Los Angeles continues to build that super team. I'm pretty sure they still have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, as the Dodgers win a World Series championship, and now they're going to add someone who hit 52 home runs, and we're now going to have to face Pete Alonso, as we now also have to replace our first baseman. And Ryan Mountcastle still is out there. I don't know if he's the optimal piece that we want. Yandy Diaz here, demanding $16 million. Mountcastle only wants 10 per, but a longer contract. Nathaniel Lowe, 31 years old. But I prefer Mountcastle, higher overall, higher potential. Is there anyone else who can maybe play out of position? So we do have Nolan Jones, who we could always throw out first. But I do like him in the outfield or even at third with that strong arm he has. Wow, I can't believe Pete Alonso I'm not too surprised that he left, but I'm just shocked to see him go to the Dodgers. That's a huge hit. Certainly makes it a little more tough for us now, as I think Mountcastle might be the guy. I think he's a good option here in free agency. I don't want to go 5 years, though. That's the thing. Can we go 4 years? The player option. Just go 4-4-4-4. 44.4 million for 4 years. Player option. And that would leave us with 11 million. And overall wise, I mean, Mountcastle is only like 2 points underneath Alonso, but Alonso just brings much more of an impact. But Mountcastle a higher clutch, and we did see Alonso there in that postseason just go cold. I don't think he had a single, or I think he had 1 home run in that postseason, hit like around 200. So as big of a loss as that is going to be, maybe Mountcastle, a guy a little bit younger, provides more energy for us, as I don't see really any other options to fill first base. Maybe Bellinger, but I think he's even more expensive than Mountcastle and not as much room to grow. So crazy development there. We could also now at this point bring back Santander, but I like the idea of bringing in Jimenez as a cheaper option, younger, with better baseball in front of him. So a big development there as Pete Alonso goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Skubal here, the Giants leading the way for him. Bednar, San Diego, no one getting in on Jazz Chisholm yet. Bidding for Dustin May still. We might be able to even bump up Dustin May with Alonso leaving. We'll even go up to 56. Go 57.5 and try to get Dustin May into Colorado. Pretty much trade off, May for Pete Alonso. And I guess John Curtis did sign. He signed that $3-year $1 million deal we offered him. Senzel signed as well, 2 years, 7.5 per year with a player option. Ken Hughes signed a 1-year $1.6 million deal. So we'll keep simming ahead now. Huge loss there, and that's what kind of makes these games fun. The unexpected, seeing your former star player go to the rival, join the dark side, as we're still leading for all these guys. Now Soto getting some action, and the Royals actually offering him less money, but he is more interested in them, so we'll go up to 3.2 for Soto. Now leading for him, and we'll keep the simming going here. We'll sim up to this next milestone. We do get a trade offer from the Mets, as they want to give us Jeff McNeil, 35 years old, solid hitter, and Jeremiah Jackson for Ken Hughes, one of the top young closers in the game. No thank you. And I will sim to this next stopping point, as 40-man rosters now have to be set to protect these players. I think we already pretty much did that. We'll go back to free agency. Still leading for Mountcastle, May, TJ Antone, and Jimenez. Now let's check over here. Skubal. So I think we could actually afford, another starting pitcher now that Alonso left. We have 11.2 million. So we could afford a guy, here like Sandoval, like Rasmussen, Brady Singer even. Urquidy, Luzardo. I think Luzardo wanted a little too much. Yeah, he wanted like 16. No one yet bidding for Casey Mize. And we did start that episode by giving him that 1-year $12 million contract offer. Just kind of lowballing him, which would just barely be out of our budget at this point. So Luis Garcia did sign. I was going to maybe look at him. Yeah, I wouldn't mind signing one of these guys to maybe like a 1-year deal if they take it, just to kind of fill out our roster. I was intrigued by the idea of battling Yamashita and Juan Ayala for that last rotation spot, but I think now we can afford to go for a more sure thing. But all these guys pretty much want multi-year deals besides Stroman. All these guys want 3 or 4 years, so I don't know if we're going to be able to bring them in, but maybe if we bump up the 1 year a little bit more than what they're getting AAV on a longer contract, maybe that will be enough. Singer I really would like with that potential, although 30 years old. These guys pretty much the same age. And Sandoval would bring another lefty. He won 14 games last year, like I said, on a bad Angels team. So I think Singer, unfortunately, is out of the equation just because he's demanding a little bit more, 11.4. Same as Rasmussen, actually. What about Sandoval? Same. All these guys, 11.4 million, which is pretty much just out of our budget. AJ Puck wants like 20 million. I think his agent has been misleading him a little bit. And those are going to be the options if we do go this route. So can we lower any of these contracts? I think we want to leave all these the same. Maybe Antone we can lower a little bit just because he hasn't had much of a market. I think we'll just go 12.4, as I don't know if that really made a big difference. Now we can go back to starting pitching. So between Sandoval, Rasmussen, or Urquidy even, a little bit older. I guess they're all the same age. They're all 30, 31 years old. This is a tough one, pretty much our number 4, number 5 spot in the rotation, or maybe even number 3. Aaron Savali kind of fell apart there down the stretch, but maybe a 2-year with a player option might be a good way to play it, as I think I do prefer Sandoval just because he gives us that other lefty arm. So I think we'll try a 2-year with a player option. And can we afford $11 million? As that'll fall just inside our budget. So a 2-year, $22 million offer there for Sandoval. I think we'll actually just alter it a little bit. We'll go 2 years, $20 million, give him that player option and front load it. And that does drop us under LA. So I think we will have to do $22 million player option, and we're going to front load it actually. Front load this one, 2 years, $22 million, as that'll have us inside the budget by $500,000. So we had arbitration as well with Joe Adell looming. And after we kind of filled some spots, I don't know if it's feasible to bring him back. I kind of want to move on to Benny Montgomery as the platoon guy there. In the outfield, we'll have Jones, Robert Jr., Fernandez. Also, Gavin Lux. Senzel can also play the outfield. Gavin Lux can play the outfield. Tolio can play the outfield. And really, Adell's only redeeming quality at this point is his speed. So I think we are going to move on from Joe Adell. And then come to the 40-man roster, really no one that we want to protect there on that screen. So we'll just let them ride into the Rule 5 draft, as we'll sim ahead here a couple more days, as that's the last day to offer salary arbitration. And we're going to let all these guys walk. We'll bring back Gilbreth with that arbitration offer, but Adell, Feltner, and Smith will now hit the free agent pool as we sim ahead one more day. And we'll check back on our negotiations. The Giants getting in on Mountcastle after they missed out on Alonso. We're still leading for Dustin May, still leading for Sandoval, Antone, and Jimenez, as the Reds getting in on Antone, trying to bring him back there to Cincinnati. But hopefully he sticks in Colorado. We'll sim to Saturday as we do get Dustin May, so we missed out on Pete Alonso, but otherwise our top task here in the free agency period was to get another ace. And we certainly got that with Dustin May, who will join Max Fried at the top of the rotation. 4 years, $14.38. And I think he did have that player option. Alejandro Kirk signs with the Angels. 6 years, $106 million. Mountcastle we also bring in to supplant Pete Alonso there, the loss of Pete Alonso. So we get Mountcastle and May, as this free agency has gone fairly smooth, besides the loss, of course, of Pete Alonso. And now the Dodgers jumping in on TJ Antone, as they're trying to steal another player away. So if we were to lose out on him, maybe Brusdar Graterol, the former Dodger, would be the top choice, but he wants a lot more, I think. Or no, he wants like even. Actually, maybe even a little bit less than Antone. But otherwise, the righties have kind of diminished off the market. We saw Dylan Tate sign somewhere. So if not Antone, it's not looking too good to replace him. Maybe Jordan Romano, as the White Sox have had that offer on him the whole time, but he's not accepting it. So we lowered this one. Now we got to kind of bring it back up. We'll go 2 years, $13 million, I think, which is what we started with that player option. And the Dodgers, he's maxed out, so we're going to have to overpay. And that actually might put us outside the budget if we go to $7 million now a year. That's still not enough, so the Dodgers are going to swoop in and steal TJ Antone from us. And they waited quite a bit, so we're going to have to pull out now on Antone, which is going to be a big loss. Especially, he's going to join Pete Alonso there with the Dodgers. He pitched 80 2/3 with us, and it was pretty phenomenal. But we'll withdraw all that. And now the backup plan here, Brusdar Graterol. He's been very good, over the entire course of his career, mainly with the Dodgers. Sub-1 whip each of the past 2 years. 4 of the past 5 years, he's had a sub-1 whip. And he's always good, whether you put him in a setup role, middle relief spot. Not going to get a lot of strikeouts, but another sinker baller. So what if we give him a two-year deal instead of Antone, 2 years at 12.6? And that will put us over the Mets. We'll go just 2 years, 13, which is pretty much what we had on Antone. We'll go player option as well, just to sweeten the pot a little bit for him, as that will now leave us with $0.3 million left in cap. And we'll see what happens with Sandoval. Not really what I expected in the pitching staff. As I said, I was really just set to have Ayala and Yamashita battle it out, but we'll have Savali and Jack Flaherty more than likely out of our bullpen going into year 5. So I think at that point we'll have Ayala, Yamashita ready to kind of take a spot there in the rotation. So now we're really heading into the final stages of this offseason. Let's take a look at our lineup, see how it's come to form. So Brendan Rodgers still at second base. Luis Robert Jr. there in center for the last year of his contract. Probably going to want like max money towards that, at least probably over $20 million. And this will be a pending free agent. Not sure if he's someone we'll re-sign long term, but we'll certainly revisit, at this time next year after another season with the Rockies. Nolan Jones signed him. He has a player option, only 6.2, so I'm assuming he'll decline that. And he'll also be set to hit the open market next year along with Robert Jr. Eloy Jimenez, our new DH, who does accept that contract. So we get him a really cheap deal, 3 years, like $16 million player option at 6.1 for that third year. So I really like that investment. I think he might have a better season than Santander, although Santander, part of our core that I said we wanted to bring back, and pretty much everyone left. Antone, Alonso, and Santander going to be playing baseball elsewhere. Ryan Mountcastle, though, not a bad replacement for Pete Alonso. Not going to be quite as dynamic at the plate, but probably a little more consistent with good vision, good clutch, and that 96 power versus lefties. McMahon, the last year of his contract at $14 million. It's going to be nice to get that off the books next year. A long-time Colorado Rocky, though, over 1,000 hits. That catcher will have Danny Jansen, also in a contract year, so I'm really hoping after we shed McMahon, Kyle Freeland, Antonio Senzatella, after we shed those contracts, I'm really hoping we can make a run at maybe like Adley Rutschman if he's available, as we'll have like a free $35 million, $40 million to work with, and then we can occupy catcher long term. Yanquiel Fernandez, hoping for an elevated season there at age 25. Then Ezekiel Tovar, already a one-time Gold Glover, only 25 years old, and he's been steady at the plate, although we hope he can maybe elevate it to a new level. Then on the bench, very good players here with Nick Senzel, going to be our guy there off the bench against lefties. And then Gavin Lux going to be that same kind of guy against righties, probably going to be the backup shortstop for Tovar. So Gavin Lux will find the lineup a lot, and he'll probably split time in left field with Yanquiel Fernandez, and maybe get some time at third base as well. Benny Montgomery, a rookie, 24 years old. I think he is going to take over Joe Adell's spot as a platoon outfielder with 84 speed, good glove out there, and the hitting has gotten better each season. And then Michael Toglia, our hero from the NLDS, was 5 for 8, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs. And his first 2 at-bats, he swung at the first 2 pitches, home runs each time. Only 1 home run, though, in 23 regular season at-bats, but went on to hit 4 in the post, or 3 or 4 in the postseason, as that alone will probably earn him a roster spot. And then Warming Bernabel, 24 years old, and Leonardo Rivas, a good utility man with good speed, good glove, had 50 at-bats. They're probably the odd men out, as we will continue simming along here, as we're really just waiting on Patrick Sandoval now to see if he accepts this 2-year, $22 million deal to solidify our rotation. And then Robert Stephenson here, 34 years old, really just wanted to add a depth, like veteran arm, as someone as like a spring training invite. And Stevenson, 34 years old, hasn't pitched since year 1 of this franchise, so kind of like a career resurrection project here. 88 velocity, 93 break with very good control, good hits and Ks per 9. And he's trying to work back into the bigs that see potential going up and that overall going up. So we'll sim ahead here. Sandoval is the last domino to fall. As we see, Hae-Sung Kim signs there with Miami, 5 years, $95 million. Freddie Peralta going to the Braves, 5 years, $67 million. Jazz Chisholm signs with the White Sox as they look to turn the corner, 5 years, $105. Kyle Wright to the Mets, 5 years, $75. Santander there goes to the Angels, and we wish him nothing but the best. 42 home runs last year for our Rockies. Led our team in RBIs the last 2 seasons. Go a couple more days here as we await a decision from Patrick Sandoval, as we do get a trade offer here. Victor Tejada from the Royals 23 years old, 74 overall starting pitcher. And they want Zach Veen, who I actually do kind of want to trade. 25 years old, closed out his AAA season very strong, but overall has been very inconsistent, has missed some time due to injury. And now that we brought in, Franklin Delaney in the same spot, also a lefty bat, Delaney is going to be the guy we look towards going forward. 7 years younger than Zach Veen and only a 3 overall difference. So if the Royals want Zach Veen, I think it's worth exploring a trade with them. But I don't think Victor Tejada is the guy we want. Not a bad prospect by any means. We actually can't even edit the trade here. So we got to back out, go over here, make trade, go over to the Royals. As we'll throw Zach Veen in there and see who they're working with. Very good rotation for the Royals. Zach Gallen, Corbin Burns, as they were each brought in over the past 2 seasons. Brady Singer, they do re-sign to a 3-year deal at $34.2. Alfonso Ojeda here, a lefty, 68 overall, B potential. I'm going to say he's a fresh draft pick since you don't see like any progression or regression there along his attributes, but kind of unrealistic return there for Zach Veen. Johan Mejia, though, I mean, he's only 56 overall, but B potential at 19 years old. And he throws a knuckleball, so I think we're definitely going to go after Mejia here. And I really believe in, building the bullpen in trades with these guys, kind of just fillers in the trade. Mejia not going to be the main centerpiece that we get back for Veen, but definitely someone we want to throw in there. So Johan Mejia, and then maybe we'll look for a position player or something. We have a closer here, Jonah Cruz, but another fresh rookie. And they would be interested. So what about Mariano Salazar, an A potential? And they'd be interested in giving him up as well, but I don't think that's realistic. I mean, I guess he is kind of older at 23 years old, but the A potential, I feel like, is a huge draw. But then again, a B potential right fielder against an A potential closer. So maybe we'd just stack up on, we could actually get both of them. We wouldn't be able to throw Mejia in there too, but we'll keep going along here, see if anyone else strikes our interest. Jody Camp here, a switch hitting second baseman. He alone would kind of eat up that interest bar. I really like his traits. High vision, clutch, contact, power, respectable already with a good glove. Very good second baseman there. So maybe Camp and Mejia. I think that would be a good return here for Zach Veen. Andres Tejada at third. 19 years old, a 21-year-old Giovanni Thomas. Austin Charles at short. Pretty good power for a shortstop, good glove. Some quality guys here that we can take away from Kansas City. Michael Silva, a 70 overall, 19-year-old right fielder with very good power, good speed. But we are going to go for Mejia, and then I think the second baseman, Jody Camp as well. He's going to be 21 years old, 5'7", 166. And that actually won't get it done for us. They want something else back. I think we could just throw a low overall pitcher back for them or something. Maybe Garrett Haney here. Or actually, we could throw in Cleveland Morehouse here, shortstop. And that will get it done. So we're going to bring back Jody Camp here, a switch hitting second baseman. Very good hitter already. That power is going to come around. Already high contact with very high vision, clutch. An above average glove already. Decent speed. And then Johan Mejia, 19-year-old B potential with a knuckleball. As we're going to send Zach Veen to Kansas City. And their highest overall right fielder is a 77. So it kind of makes sense that they're looking to bring someone else in as some competition. Nelson Velasquez only hit 219 last year. As Zach Veen would bring in some healthy competition. Still room to grow at B potential, 25 years of age. But we're going to send him there to Kansas City as we bring in Johan Mejia and Jody Camp, 2 prospects to kind of strengthen our team. As now we hope that Patrick Sandoval, really the last domino for us here, as he did get another offer. Kansas City jumping in there, but we're still ahead. Still ahead a few more days. As Patrick Sandoval does sign with Colorado, so we miss out on Pete Alonso, but that opens us up to bring in Sandoval to really strengthen our rotation. So you pretty much trade Alonso for Sandoval and Mountcastle, which isn't the worst trade-off, especially when you can bring in an ace like Dustin May, along with a couple of relievers, a couple role players there on offense to strengthen your core. So I think we did a really good job this offseason. Drew Rasmussen there to Miami, as we'll keep simming along here. We are at winter meetings. We'll sim through that. And we do have the draft lottery as well. So the White Sox, Athletics, Red Sox, Tigers, 4 AL teams at the top, followed by the Reds, Nationals, Giants, Brewers, Mets, Blue Jays. We're going to have the 24th pick as we will simulate this draft lottery. Again, it was the White Sox, Athletics at the top. And we'll see if the order kind of stands true pre-lottery. So the Red Sox get the number 1 pick. They jump up from 3 to 1. The Tigers move up from 4 to 2. The Athletics go from 2 to 3, and the White Sox fall down from 1 to 4. The 49-win franchise cannot catch any breaks. We're going to pick 24 in the 2027 MLB draft. As I do want to look at trades real quick just to get caught up on that, see if we missed any. Edward Olivares to the Diamondbacks. We'll just skip all those. So trades. We have the Rockies one up there. White Sox made another trade. Padres. Any notable names here? Cubs acquire Edward Cabrera from the Marlins for Shota Imanaga and Brennan Davis. So the Cubs unload Imanaga, send him to Miami along with Brennan Davis as they bring in a younger arm there in Edward Cabrera. Pirates get Jeffrey Springs from Michael Kennedy and Lonnie White from the Rays. Rays get Logan Davidson from the A's for Raleigh Donovan. And Raleigh Donovan was actually the top closer in the year 2 MLB draft. So he goes from Tampa Bay now to Oakland. And those are really the big trades so far in the offseason. As we'll now sim ahead to the Rule 5 draft. We're still kind of in need of a backup catcher. But I mean, it's not the most pressing need, as we do have a couple guys in our own system we could turn to. But we would like an upgrade there. So we see a few guys go off the board as we'll review them. Number 1 here to Chicago, Sam Bachman. Hasn't pitched in the bigs in 3 years, but they pick him number 1 in the Rule 5 draft. Ethan Small, a lefty, as he goes to Oakland, pitched 41 2/3 in Boston, a 7.56 ERA, a 1.94 WHIP. So not quite sure what Oakland sees in him. Matt Mervis, the first position player to go, a first baseman, lefty with B potential. Only MLB time was 3 years ago as he's going to Boston. Cole Wilcox here to Toronto. He pitched a little bit last year, 31 innings, a 2.61 ERA. So pretty good numbers there in limited sample size for Oakland. He's now going to be a Blue Jay as Cooper Kinney selected by the Cardinals, a shortstop. Decent fielder, good speed. Tony Santillan to Houston. He pitched 15 2/3 last year in Oakland, a 4.02 ERA, 1.28 WHIP. Decent numbers, very good velocity and break stuff. So now we're here. Tekoa Roby is actually the top guy, and he's in our system. 62 overall. Definitely don't see him getting picked here, so really nothing here. I'm just really looking for B potentials. We're pretty set there. Kevin Ginkel at 78 overall. That would actually be a pretty good one too. 30 save season going back to year 1. And he's been decent since. Now catcher. So Willie McIver, the top catcher, is actually in our system. So he's the guy who very well might end up as our backup catcher. Along here with Daniel Cope, 2 of the top 3 catchers on the board in our system. So we're not going to get an upgrade there, unfortunately, as there really isn't much to choose from here in the Rule 5 draft. Yu Chang, B potential, 71 overall. If you needed a utility man, maybe someone you look towards. Adrian Placencia, switch hitting shortstop with good fielding. Can play second. And then Chris Bryant in the Rule 5 draft. We traded him a couple years ago to New York as they ate up that contract. He still has 1 more year with that player club option. So just 1 more year at $26 million as the Yankees make him available here in the Rule 5 draft. And that is going to do it. We'll simulate the rest and see if anyone else goes off the board. Tristan Peters, I saw there, got selected, as that will be the last one here in this year 3 offseason Rule 5 draft. Tristan Peters to the Braves, a lefty. Good contact, good glove, good arm, good speed. And Placencia, as we saw, goes to the Twins. So that's really it for the offseason. We covered our base. I mean, still some dominoes to fall here that we have to keep our eye on. Skubal, Crochet, Bellinger, Trevor Rogers, Urquidy. Let's see, Skubal is being pursued by the Dodgers. Are they just going to bring in everybody? And then the Giants are behind them. So it looks like Skubal might be going to the NL West, going back to California. And if he goes to the Dodgers, that would be absolutely insane. Crochet, the Nationals leading for him. Bellinger, the Astros leading. Royals leading for Rogers. So we will simulate pretty much the rest of this offseason. As Skubal does go to the Giants, so we will have to face him in the NL West here, but at least he did not go to the Dodgers. 6 years, $126.6 million. Garrett Crochet, 5 years, $86.5 to Washington. They also brought in Kyle Tucker last offseason as they're making a couple big splashes. Cody Bellinger to the Cardinals as we're now here in January 2027. Happy New Year, as we're technically 2 years into the future now. Trevor Rogers to the Cardinals as we're now here in February. Just one arbitration hearing as we get our first trade as Edwin Diaz traded from the Yankees back to the Mets as the Yankees acquire Sammy Siani and Christian Scott. Simulate this arbitration hearing as they sided with us. $2.2 million there for Gilbreth. Dansby Swanson now traded from the Cubs to the Reds for Nick Lodolo and Spencer Steer. You got to think the Cubs are winners there. As Swanson, a high-level shortstop, but 33 years old, still 3 years on a big contract. So the Reds, questionable trade there. As we are now officially here at the end of the free agency, as it has been a fun one. Some older guys here at the top, maybe they'll catch on with a spring training invite, but this is where I'm going to leave you folks. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about our off-season episode. If you've been following along, at all with this series, you know that this is the most fun I have with these franchises, these rebuilds, these expansion teams that I have going on the channel. So fun, the team building aspect. And I think we did a pretty good job here today. Would have been nice to bring back Pete Alonso, but otherwise I think we brought in some good alternates as we had kind of flip our strategy and change things up as our Colorado Rockies look to compete in year 4 now. As we had the wild card, we won a playoff series, but now we have to get to that next level, and it's all going to start with taking down the Los Angeles Dodgers this season, who are going to be, again, probably the World Series favorites. So, as always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.